Caroline, let's start with you and Hawthorn. It's been an interesting week, and it started like this on Footy Classified with Craig Hutchison on Monday night.
There was a mediation session held at the Hawthorn Football Club involving Sam Mitchell, Alastair Clarkson. I'm told that during that meeting it became clear that Sam Mitchell would rather have clean air to have a fresh start next year without Alastair Clarkson by his side. If Jeff Kennett had his way and if it wasn't going to cost him more than $1 million, Sam Mitchell would be the senior coach of the Hawthorn Football Club next year. My view is it's a mess.
OK, well, here's what Jeff Kennett's view is. He says, Ms Wilson described the meeting as a mediation meeting, even though she was directly told by our Chief Executive Officer, Justin Reeves, that was not the case. It was incorrect. He went on to characterise a respectful exchange of ideas as a blow-up makes clear that not only was she not in the room, she has no idea how or what was discussed. Caro, your thoughts?
I respectfully disagree with everything Jeff says. You can nitpick over mediation. The fact is, leading teams, Ray McLean was there, and I have absolute certainty that everyone left with the impression that Sam Mitchell would rather have clean air next year. It might have been a respectful exchange of ideas. I never used the word blow-up, and there was no blow-up. What has happened today is that a lot of people have come out and accused me of saying things I didn't say. But I absolutely stand by the fact, and we probably should listen to Sam Mitchell.
Yeah. So let's hear,
and then I'll continue.
Sam Mitchell, who was in the meeting, had this to say to Gerard Whateley on SEN today.
Sam, have you suggested you want to be Hawthorn coach next year and would prefer Alastair Clarkson not be at the Hawks?
Absolutely not. That has not happened.
Is it possible anything that you expressed in that meeting could have been misconstrued as wanting to take over next season?
No.
So is it your absolute desire to work in concert with Alastair next year?
Absolutely, 100%. But I kind of get a bit pissed off with people saying that. Like, there's nothing about anything I've done. I've worked with Clarko for nearly 20 years. The fact that people would say that I'm trying to push him out is disrespectful to both of us. The only people that are saying it's not going to work out like that are people with a genuine lack of knowledge who say they're speaking to people at the club, but every piece of evidence says the contrary. I'm not worried about leaks because they're pretend. They're people who heard second or third or fourth hand, or some of the stuff is blatantly made up. And I'd say a vast majority of it has been blatantly made up.
All right, well, Caroline, can I ask you, without obviously giving up your sources, you're confident of your sources? And
I'm completely confident of my sources. And look,
what was the tone of what you heard?
Why on earth would I make something up? Why would I put my reputation on the line knowing that people who were at this meeting were going to come out and have their say? Now, it is absolutely possible that Sam did not say, I want to coach next year and I want you gone. I never reported that, Matthew. What I did say was that people left that meeting with the impression that Sam Mitchell would rather be the senior coach next year. And I'm sorry, but it is not Sam's 100% desire to coach in tandem with Alastair Clarkson next year. It might be today, after meetings have been held since that meeting, and I might add, Ed, some of those meetings have been held without Alastair Clarkson present, which would not normally happen. It is just patently not true for Sam to say there are not leaks coming out of Hawthorn. I've never seen Hawthorn leak like this. And Sam should be very careful about what he says about his premiership coach, as I'm hearing back that he's been saying to people at that football club, he should just be careful. And maybe that's stopped now, and maybe we've nipped it in the bud.
Well, maybe it's stopped. Lloydie.
I just want to ask you, Ross, I know because you've got some strong views on this, but why are they thrashing out the roles and responsibilities after the event? Why, even if Collingwood was saying we want Sam Mitchell, why wouldn't they all sit in the room and go, OK, Sam's going to be our coach the year after, but how is it going to work? Because we're hearing Sam going, yeah, I'll do the list management, he'll do this tactical side, but they're talking about it right now, and I think that's where they're asking for trouble, trying to thrash that out after the event.
Well, it's unedifying. It's unedifying, and I think if it was a serious pushback, both Alastair and Sam would have done something together today. There's only one party in that meeting that has spoken about Caroline isn't saying the truth. It's deafening on the other side, the silence. I really feel for Alastair. When he signed the 4-year deal, there was no mention of a succession plan. It's been thrust upon him in a short period of time. And the respect to say we had a 20-minute meeting to plan it out says it all about this arrangement. And I cannot fathom what Alastair's been put through after 4 and with the Hawthorn Football Club, 4 premierships.
So let me tell you what the 3 options are. And Hawthorn and Jeff Kennett, as late as 5 minutes ago, said this is the option. This is it. So here it is. Clarkson coaches. He stays. He gets paid $1 million plus. Mitchell coaches Box Hill as part of the rebuild. Now, the reason behind this is that the Hawks, they're not pressing for the finals. They know that. And they say, right, what we really want to do is we've got a great coach of coaches, and we've seen so many assistants go to other clubs. We want Clarkson to coach Mitchell to be the best coach possible and bring the young players through. Mitchell stay at Box Hill with higher duties. Alastair will pay $1 million for doing it. Option number 2 is one that could happen, and that is if Clarkson stays, he paid $1 million. We said that if Clarkson coaches elsewhere, so if he decides to go to Collingwood, for example, the Hawks will probably release him and pay some mitigation along the journey, because how could they hold him if he was to receive a senior coaching job elsewhere? The third one, which is less likely than any of them, is that Clarkson resigns. Jeff Kennett has said, quote, under no circumstances will they pay him out. Now, the situation is there's always a negotiation on that. Alastair might decide, you know what, I'm jack of it and I'll go and do something else. Now, there might be positions at the AFL even to get in there in the football operations role. He could do a speaking role. His manager, James Henderson's one of the best in the business. He could find the money.
That list of options Jeff Kennett has put forward is laughable. If they are prepared to let him go and coach Carlton or Collingwood...
Hold fire. Just remember, Ron Barassi did this in 1972. He coached the greatest premiership of all time in 1970. 71 at Carlton, had a year off, then came back and went to North Melbourne and went again. So that's up to Alastair. But it's option number 1 that they're saying is the one. Underline it 3 times. Jeff said that to me 5 minutes ago. He said, quote, he and Clarkson, contract will be honoured. They both have agreed that is the situation. You could be right, Kero. It might have been a come-to-Jesus moment at the Hawthorn Football Club in the last 24 hours. But the bottom line is, tonight, as we sit here, the president of the Hawthorn Football Club assures me that he and Alastair Clarkson are as one. Mitchell will be the coach of Box Hill. Clarkson will be the coach of...
With respect, I don't think Jeff and Clarkson have ever been as one.
Well, they apparently overnight...
So they're the options Jeff gave you,
they're options that I've been able to glean today from numerous conversations.
So either is a coach, either Hawthorn, it's option 1. Should Hawthorn be putting up a second option?
No, I'm putting
I know what Caro thinks, but do you think Hawthorn want Clarkson to coach them next year?
I think that, speaking to the president tonight, yes. But I'm putting up those options. They're the 3 options that are on the...
I just want to make a few points about Jeff. Jeff said a year ago that under no circumstances would they be sacking Alastair or Alastair sacking us. Effectively, that is what they've done.
Yep.
Point 2, when Sam Mitchell quit West Coast early and went back to Hawthorn, Jeff denied that there was a succession plan in place. Well,
you're not going to say anything 2 years ago.
Sam Mitchell said today this has been in place since 2016. Yeah. Point 3, if they're so aligned, why did Alastair Clarkson call Justin Reeve a spineless expletive deleted on the way from the meeting room to the press conference when they made the announcement? And how on earth, when there only 5 people heard it, has that got out?
Caro, can I just say this to you? I agree with everything you're saying, but people blew. They do. It's not a perfect world, and it finds itself, and then you sort yourself out. Certain people don't have
credibility when other things they've said have just been completely not true.
So, don't you think he deserves the respect? If they don't want him there, that's okay. Pay him his cheque and move him on. That's what the Dockers did. We don't want you. Here's your cheque. Have the courage of your convictions.
What about if they
say... You can't have your cake and eat it too. And that's what they're trying to do.
So let me put it from a board's point of view. No, we're paying you $1 million.
Yeah.
You're there to coach. Yeah. Coach. And when you're done, you're finished.
And I want to ask you, Caro...
That's the way
but that's not what they've done.
They've changed
the landscape.
That's what
they've changed the landscape. When he signed that document, there was no Sam Mitchell's going to come in 2000 and... What are we in, 21?
Yeah, well, I don't think Nathan Buckley signed one that said you get resold on Queen's birthday.
No, but what did they do? They paid him out and moved him on.
Caro, can I just finish, Edwin, saying... So Clarko said he's seeing this out. Sam said he's going to live up to his end of the bargain.
Yep.
Have you changed your tune at all that this may happen next year, that Clarko coaches and Sam coaches Box Hill?
As I said on Monday night, I felt after the game against Melbourne that there was a bit of a shift where Alastair was concerned and he thought, well, if I'm going to have to dig in, I'll dig in. I'm not saying it 100% won't happen. I will be amazed if it happens. And I agree with Ross that I just think this is a really messy way. And I think the board have handled this really badly. And I think the whole administration should have a long, hard look at themselves.
And And Jeff Kennett would say, we are doing what every decent business in the world does. You prepare the move. We think that Alastair's time will be, he is valued to us for a year. We're going to pay him his money, and then we're going to bring the other guy through. And in our list, we are not pressing for a premiership. We need a coach to coach the players and the assistant.
And Chris Scott would say, it's not a great job at the minute. This is the greatest coach in the modern era in an uncomfortable situation that he does.